Baby Reindeer, Martha, Part 3. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor, continuing the analysis of the character of Martha from the Netflix series Baby Reindeer. At this juncture, we're simply analysing what we see in the programme, the evidence that is presented there, to make a determination as to what Martha is. Donnie, played by Richard Gadd in his real-life adaptation, decides that he's going to block Martha on Facebook and take time off from being in the pub. He thinks that this might cause her to grow bored. He's left with many queries about what went on, stating he could still feel the sensation of her grope by the canal, that he could still smell her neck sweat, and kept asking himself, why did he freeze? Why did it let it happen? Martha continues to message him via email. Is this the case that she's undertaking further hoovers of him? Donnie lives in a property that is owned by his ex-girlfriend's mother, and he has remained there. She runs a cooking group, and one evening he returns back to the house and is invited into the kitchen for the cooking group. He's introduced to a new member, and then a second new member who emerges from an adjoining room, who just happens to be Martha, although she calls herself Sheila. She has turned up at the house where he lives. Intrusive, lack of boundary recognition. She emails him later, stating, "Baby Reindeer, if you didn't want me coming to your house, then why do you keep walking the canal home?" It's evident that she has followed him, walking the canal to see where he lives. Is it the case that that is blame shifting on her part? Saying, well, it's evident you didn't want me there, but if that was the case, why then was it that you kept walking along the canal as if to show me where you lived? Is it magical thinking on the part of Martha? Remember, magical thinking isn't just the preserve of narcissists, but it is magical thinking in her world, where she believes that he was purposefully walking along the canal with the expectation that she would then follow him and therefore get to know where he lived. In the course of the evening, other members leave from the cooking group, which leaves Donnie, Martha and Liz chatting away. Donnie keeps trying to leave and end the evening, but Liz suggests that it would be appropriate for Martha to stay. Martha suggests that she's happy to remain and is quite convivial. Liz suggests that Martha stays. But Donnie, when he has a moment, suggests, when Liz has gone away from the kitchen, Donnie states to her, "You are to leave, Martha." She immediately responds by saying, "No, I'm staying. It'd be rude not to my new friend. She's fastening up a bed for me." Is the fact that she regards Liz as a new friend, again, evidence of magical thinking? Is that the behaviour that can be found amongst the narcissist of assuming that within a moment of meeting somebody that they either fall in love with the narcissist or want to be their friend? Donnie points out she's not your friend and you're not fucking staying. His response does not sit well with Martha, who explains, "Don't get stuffy with me." She stands up aggressively. "You're lucky I'm still interested after the way that you've behaved towards me." Her response might be seen as a nullification of a threat to control. It might be that actually she just remains deluded to say, "Hey, don't treat me like that. You're lucky that I'm still interested in you." Donnie states, "I'm not talking about this, and if you continue this bullshit any longer, I'll call the police." He issues a threat to her. Her response is, "You wouldn't dare. I'm a lawyer. I've certain standards to live up to," making reference, of course, to professional standards. Of course, This demonstrates the level of delusion once again, because she isn't actually a practicing lawyer, but believes that she is. We had seen in the first episode the way that she lives on her own in near squalor, hardly the life of a lawyer earning good money and having the clientele that she alluded to. Donnie then states, then leave, stay away from this cooking class, stay away from Liz, and stay away from this house. He raises the phone as if to call the police. Martha gets up and leaves. Did she nullify that threat to control as a consequence of withdrawal, or did she simply want to go because she was frightened of him telephoning the police and causing a problem for her? Donnie retires to his room and finds a photo has been placed there by Martha of her in her underwear. Again, intrusive and lack of boundary recognition. She sends him an email pleading for him not to call the police. It then follows that Martha turns up every day outside the home. Donnie has been panicking, wondering what she might do, knowing that she now knows where he lives. But first thing in the morning, she's there outside at the bus stop. As he leaves to go off to work at the pub, she calls out to him, "I love you, nipple. Think of me at work today." But she makes no attempt to go towards him. When he returns late at night, she's still there and asks, "How was your shift, Reindeer? Did you think of me?" She does not go up to the house. She does not actually approach him. When Liz emerges from the property, she hides herself as if she doesn't want to be seen. Is this further hoovering by Martha, showing a lack of emotional empathy for Donnie by, in effect, camping out in the bus stop opposite the house or diagonally opposite from the property? Is she hoovering by calling out to him? But what's stopping her from going and knocking on the door? Is it perhaps she fears that he'll call the police and thinks it's a safer course of action just to be sat to one side? Why doesn't she follow him when he sets off walking down the road? Again, does she fear that it's the involvement of the police? At one juncture, Donnie comes out of the house and it's 3 a.m. He notices that Martha is sat staring ahead. She's still sat in the bus stop. It's cold. And he talks to her and she doesn't respond. He notices that her nose has run. He takes out a tissue and offers it to her. She does not respond. He then wipes her nose for her. She doesn't respond. He puts the tissue in her pocket and she doesn't respond. He offers to take her back home, but she doesn't speak to him. This instance is particularly interesting with regard to the behaviour of Martha. Are we witnessing a narcissist that's in a fuel crisis? That she's received nothing by way of response from Donnie. All he ever does is look at her and then walk on. He doesn't reply to her. He doesn't respond to her. Presumably she's not interacting with anybody else when she's sat on the bus stop. And therefore, is this a narcissist that has become starved of fuel? And therefore what we see is a fuel crisis? It is certainly the case that a narcissist who is starved of fuel would enter a depressive and almost catatonic state. However, it might be the case, of course, that would occur where the narcissist had no choice with regard to obtaining fuel. Here, she could get up and walk away from the bus stop and interact with other people. Therefore, is it something else that we are witnessing with regard to what has created what looks like a catatonic state on her part? Donnie offers to take her home. She doesn't speak, but she does respond to him, and he explains that he'll use his ex's mum's car and take her home. He does so. He tells her, after making her a cup of tea and putting a blanket around her, to stop hanging around the bus stop. At this point, she comes back into life, so to speak. Is this because she's received some fuel from him, or more fuel, after the kindness that he exhibited by wiping her nose? She asks, why? He points out, you're only there because my house is 30 yards away. She then lies, you live next door to my friend. Then why are you there and not next door? He asks, my home means a great deal to me and I can't afford to be anywhere else. He then starts to sob. Oh no, why are you crying, Nipple? What's wrong? Tell me, she asks. Is this cognitive empathy, whereby she seeks to control him as a consequence of seeing him and being upset, or is she genuinely concerned for Donnie and doesn't like to see him cry? He responds, you, Martha, you are what's wrong. What can I do to help, though, Reindeer? What do you need, she asks. Again, are we seeing genuine emotional empathy for her where she wants to help him? He responds with space. She answers, from me? From us? He makes it clear there is no us. I can say whatever I want to you, and you'll just pick the parts you want to hear. It then dawns on Donnie that there might be a way of getting her to stay away from him, and he says, Martha, I'm breaking up with you. Immediately, she starts to cry, oh no, please don't, oh no. Is this response a pity play as a consequence of the threat to control posed by the termination of this imaginary relationship, or is she genuinely upset because she believes that there is a relationship between the two of them and he's ending it? Donnie, in an attempt to try and further get rid of her, suggests that it's not something that she's lost, but to think of it as something that she's gained, that it was almost perfect, and that it was like a fairy tale, and that she needs to respect the boundaries of the breakup and preserve it as a fairy tale. She replies, I won't do anything to harm what we had. This makes it sound as if she understands that what they had was a relationship, that she truly believes it, and she buys into the idea as suggested by him that that idea ought to be preserved and not damaged. Donnie then leaves her. There's no further protestation from her, no attempt to stop him going. She simply allows him to leave, seemingly satisfied at the idea that they preserve this fairy tale. Further evidence of her deluded mind in action. Later, Donnie is performing at the semi-final of the comedy club, the comedy competition that he's involved in. Partway through his turn on stage, Martha starts singing Especially for You. This is intrusive. Once again, she has turned up. She's stalking him, turning up at a place that he attends, doing so uninvited, albeit she was free to go there. But then she demonstrates once again her absence of boundary recognition by interrupting his set. She calls out, I miss you. Donnie replies, I miss you too, random stranger. She responds to that, stating, I'm not a random stranger, I'm your ex. Don't be so cruel. Is this a nullification of threat to control, perhaps? Or are we simply seeing a very deluded individual who believes that the relationship was real and thinks that it's unfair that he describe it as not knowing her? He then makes a joke. She responds badly to that, stating, don't know why you're all laughing, you're absolute shite. Donnie then decides to introduce her by saying, this is Martha, my stalker. She erupts at that suggestion. Standing up, she shouts, don't you dare say that to me. I'm a paying customer. How dare you insinuate mixed intentions? You apologize to me right now. Is this a narcissist who once again has had her control threatened, and thus we see heated, ignited fury coming to the fore? Or is this simply the reaction of someone who genuinely believes that they are wronged, that they don't need the control, who thought they were in a relationship, and resents being described as a stalker? Donnie replies, fucking hell, who unlocked the door to Broadmoor? She responds again, you can't call me a stalker. You're the one creeping around my house at night, peering through my windows, sending emails, begging for my bumhole. Donnie denies this. I've no idea what she's talking about. Yes, you do, she protests. I'll show them. She then pulls out her phone and starts to show other members of the audience the email that had been sent by one of Donnie's colleagues asking her for anal sex. Is her behaviour the repeated nullification of threats to control posed as a consequence of his denial of their relationship? Or is this simply a deluded and confused woman who can't understand why he's denying something that she knows to be true? At this point, Donnie has had enough and asked for people to take her out. Security muscles her out, and she's ranting and insults Donnie as this happens. Is this as a consequence again of a threat to control at her being removed? Later, Donnie and Terry are in the pub having run away from Martha trying to find Donnie after the comedy gig. Martha turns up, once again demonstrating her uncanny ability to find where Donnie might be. It's here as well that it's slightly extraordinary that she'd be able to find them in a pub, given there must have been any number of pubs around the venue. It could be that she's been looking in them for some time, or it might be that here there was some degree of artistic license, conflating a confrontation that took place on another occasion, making it seem like it happened on the same night. But it does seem rather extraordinary that she was able to find him so quickly. Nevertheless, Martha is enraged by Terry's presence. She repeatedly insults her, makes racist comments about her, and then physically attacks her. All of this very much appears like the explosion of heated, ignited fury. The fact that she sees Donnie with another woman causes her to erupt. She shows no emotional empathy for Terry, shouting, insulting, and then physically attacking. What is interesting is that while she does put some insults the way of Donnie, her fury appears to be directed mainly at Terry. Is this because, in actuality, it's about wanting to preserve the relationship with Donnie, and therefore it's Terry that's seen as the threat, rather than thinking about the fact that, hang on a second, what's Donnie doing with somebody else when he ought to be with me? Eventually, Donnie and a member of staff in the bar manage to remove Martha. Donnie tells her in no uncertain terms, and angrily so, that she is insane and to stay away. Again, she appears to comply and retreats, leaving the pub. Some most interesting incidents to give us further insight into the behaviour of Martha. Time and time again, we see her behave in a manner which would fit with somebody responding to a threat to control, that she exhibits jealousy and envy, that she appears to be responding to somebody threatening her control with heated, ignited fury. But what do you make of the episode of her exhibiting what appears to be some form of catatonia in the bus stop? Fuel crisis or something else? What do you make of the fact that she often appears to calm down and retreat when instructed to do so? Do you think that is the behaviour of a narcissist or something else? Do let me know your thoughts about these various matters in the comments section as we work our way through the analysis. More to come. Join me in part 4.